I did say I have to talk about books at least once. It's probably going to become twice. I just finished Raising Steam by Terry Pratchett. I actually just bought this very recently because Terry Pratchett died. I hadn't bothered getting it for quite some time because I actually really did not care for the previous book, Snuff, all that much. I'm not going to argue the good points and bad points about it. I mean, there were some of both, of course, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I had previous books, and so I just didn't get around to buying Raising Steam. But then when he died, I had to. Before I actually got to reading it, I was talking to a coworker about it, and he said that his friend said, don't even bother reading it. His friend said it just wasn't worth it. But I wanted to read it anyway, and I'm glad I did. I enjoyed the book. It wasn't as good as most of the Discworld books, but I think it was actually better than Snuff. It was better than its prequel. I enjoyed it, but there were things I didn't like about it. It kind of felt to me like Terry Pratchett knew this was going to be his last book and was trying to wrap everything up. It seemed like he was trying to connect this book to as many of his characters as possible in whatever way he could, even with little mentions or just little cameos. Like, you know, the Witches of Longcor are mentioned not by name, but by description, so you know it was Nanny Ogg visiting the Clax Towers. Rincewind gets a mention in a footnote, and a bunch of other different ones. You know, Dr. Lawn, a bunch of others that I just can't bring to mind at the moment, but it just feels like he's trying to stick in as much as possible, which I didn't really think it needed. It would have been just fine without all the cameos. It didn't need them, but like I said, it feels like he was trying to wrap it up. One thing also I didn't care for really doesn't just pertain to this book, but the last several books. It seems like Terry Pratchett really was trying to drag the Discworld kicking and screaming into the century of the fruit bat. It's a fantastic fantasy world, but it seemed towards the end he was trying to tame it and make it our world, but populated with a multitude of sapient races and with some magic thrown in. It's such a strong, wonderful fantasy world that it really doesn't need taming. At least I didn't think so. I hate giving out spoilers. Obviously, you can tell from the cover, it's about trains. Raising Steam, it's about steam engines and, you know, bringing steam locomotion to the Discworld. That's all I'm going to say. If you like Terry Pratchett, I would still read it if you haven't already. I mean, it is his last book. As far as I know, he wasn't in the middle of another book, or he might have been, maybe, but who would you find to finish off a book if indeed he was partway through a book? Who could finish off Terry Pratchett? I mean, you know, with The Wheel of Time, Brandon Sanderson did a fantastic job finishing it off for Robert Jordan. I don't know, who could finish off a Terry Pratchett book if there was an unfinished one? I know I couldn't do it, don't ask me. I can't write, don't ask me. Can't write, don't ask me. Apparently I can't dance either, but whatever. I do think it's worth reading, even if it's just because it is his last book. Ignore everything I just said, I just looked it up, and there is one more Terry Pratchett book that's going to come out. It's a 5th Tiffany Aching book called The Shepherd's Crown, which just goes to show I really should look up these things before I open my mouth. So yeah, this is not the last Terry Pratchett book, but still read it. It's the last one to be published before he died. I wish it wasn't ending here. I mean, I would have loved more Rincewind, even though he said that's his least favorite character. I would have loved more of the witches. I would have loved more of the Nakmak-Feegle. Oh, they're so good. Achia Crivens! I can't do a good accent. I'm sad that he's gone. I'm probably gonna have to sit down and reread every single one of his books, although I'm not sure if I actually have all of them. That's something I'll have to check into. I do want to do one more book about videos before... I do want to do one more video about books before VEDA is over. I think I want to go sit down and choose my top 5, my favorite Terry Pratchett books, figure out which ones are my favorites and why they're my favorites, and introduce those. Just because.